What's good with it? It's Sharp with it, and today I brought you some videos that may make you rethink your reality. But before we get into this, could you please hit that like button, that subscribe button, that I should not have to remind button up your coats because we are about to step into the code. Let's go.
If you've never broken a bone before, you might not be human. People who've never fractured, snapped, or shattered anything aren't just lucky, you're different. Now, there's a theory behind that. Your body might be built for something else, designed maybe, monitored, placed here. These people, they don't just avoid broken bones. They heal unusually fast. They rarely get sick. And some of them, they don't even remember injuries they should have had, like the body fixed itself and wiped the memory clean. That alone is strange, but there's more. A few of these people, the so-called unbreakables, have vanished, not slowly, instantly, right after freak accidents, sudden, dramatic, and final. No trail, no cause, no explanation. The theory says they were never meant to stay here long, that they were part of something, a test, an experiment, or maybe even a group not from this place. And when it's time, something comes back for them. Everyone else walks around clueless. But these people, they were being watched from the start. So, if you've never broken a bone, if your body bounces back from things that should have left damage, maybe it's time to ask yourself something. Not, why am I lucky, but why am I still here?
So, crazy thing. I actually never have broken a bone. Thank God. I'm not preparing or planning to. Hopefully, I go the rest of my life with that blessing. But I never even thought about it in that way. And I'm a daredevil. Trust me, I've played every sport you can imagine. I've climbed. I've done everything. Swam. I've done everything you can possibly imagine. I like one time when I was young, and I used to be just a straight all around ridiculous person. I remember being like 11 or 12, and I used to jump on the top of roofs, and I did it at a park one time, right? Climbed the roof of this park, and I thought I could front flip because I was a really good, excellent flipper. You know what I'm saying? And I decided to flip off of the top of a rec building into the sand, but I landed on my back. Like I did the flip, but I landed on my back. And when I hit my back on the ground, all of the mucus just out in the air. It was ridiculous. That's the last thing I remember before I passed out. And honestly, I can't really remember that day pretty well, but I do remember that happening. But anyway, let's get to the next thing. I don't know how but I think I'm a superhero or an alien or something. I have no idea. Let's next thing.
Scientists just proved what the hood already knew. When people are close, best friends, family, even partners, their brain waves synchronize. This is called neurosynchrony. Your brain literally lock in rhythm like a Wi-Fi signal, but it really goes deeper than that. If you want me to be honest, the brain has something called mirror neurons. That means when you see your brother hurt, your brain fires like you're hurt, almost similar to the Sharingan, giving you the same emotions that the other person is having. You know what I mean? It's called wired biology, wired biology. And the Heart Math Institute showed when two people are connected, their heart rhythms and brain rhythms sync too. That's not just energy talk. That's measured science, a kind of subtle bioelectric telepathy. You know what I mean? Now, when you think about the hood, why crews move without saying a single word, and why you could feel danger before it happens, why you could go into a room and feel the negative energy, that's survival sharpening telepathy. You know what I mean? Pay attention. Trauma training the nervous system. But here's the problem. The so-called elites know this, so-called elites. That's why they flood our blocks with trauma, violence, distractions, and seeing our own self getting hurt. They want to make sure that we see our own selves getting hurt. Because if our minds and hearts are ever synced on healing, on vision, on unity, we'll be unstoppable. This is Chris K. Crystals. Protect your energy. Tap into your real power. Peace out.
All right, so that's actually my guy, Chris K. Crystals. And he's been doing this thing. I've been watching his stuff, enjoying his content. And that telepathy thing is very true. It's extremely accurate. I've been feeling, the vibes, the vibrations for a very long time. It's what causes me to make my decisions, and I can actually feel the fields, like an energetic field around people when they get close to me, even if they walk in a room. It doesn't matter if they're like in a building on the other side of the building, and it can change the outcome of, the emotions that I'm having. Basically, whoever you interact with, they have a field, and if they don't match a frequency, it'll kind of like push it away. It's like, magnets. Like if you guys don't attract, there's different types of attractions, different type of magnetisms don't attract each other. It'll propel each other. Everybody you meet, you're meant to meet. And I think that just growing up in situations, having to avoid certain areas and certain outcomes, guide yourself in the right direction. Chris K Crystals, check them out. Instagram, YouTube, all that.
Past, the present, and the future, everything is happening in the now. And also within this is the notion that time is a construct of the mind. And so when we really understand that, and we understand that it's an illusion, it begins to liberate us from the confinements of time and what those things lead to in our own minds, in our own lives, with guilt, with impatience, fear of the future, and all the things that are happening in our lives. A lot of it revolves around our concept of time. And our perception of our lives revolves around our concept of time.
Picture of time goes out the window.
You see what I mean? Think of space-time as a loaf of bread. Einstein realized that just as there are different ways to cut a loaf of bread into individual slices, there are different ways to cut space-time into individual now slices. That is, because motion affects the passage of time, someone who's moving will have a different conception of what's happening right now. And so they'll cut the loaf into different now slices. Their slices will be at a different angle.
That person who's moving will tilt the knife, will be carving out these slices at a different angle. They won't be parallel to my of time.
To get a feel for the bizarre effect this can have, imagine an alien here in a galaxy 10 billion light years from Earth, and way over there on Earth, the guy at the gas station. Now, if the two are sitting still, not moving in relation to one another, their clocks tick off time at the same rate, and so they share the same now slices, which cut straight across the loaf. But watch what happens if the alien hops on his bike and rides directly away from Earth. Since motion slows the passage of time, their clocks will no longer tick off time at the same rate. And if their clocks no longer agree, their now slices will no longer agree either. The alien's now slice cuts through the loaf differently. Its angled.
Since the alien is biking at a leisurely pace, his slice is angled to the past by only a minuscule amount. But across such a vast distance, that tiny angle results in a huge difference in time.
So, what the alien would find on his angled now slice,
What he considers is happening right now on Earth, no longer includes our friend at the gas station, or even 40 years earlier when our friend was a baby. Amazingly, the alien's now slice has swept back through 200 years of Earth history and now includes events that we consider part of the distant past, like Beethoven finishing the Fifth Symphony.
Even at a relatively slow speed, we can have actually tremendous disagreements on our labeling of now, what happens at the same time, if we're spread out far enough in space.
And if that's not strange enough,
So that kind of makes me think, if something is moving away that affects the time, why do we have daylight savings? Like, is the earth spreading? I mean, what's happening? That I understand they have an explanation for daylight saving, but there's a lot of things they come up with and explanations that gets debunked later on, turns out not to be true. We didn't have all the knowledge to it. So that's very interesting to me.
People are so lucky you don't act your spiritual rank. Cause you be out here playing undercover boss. Whole time, they don't know they're talking to the CEO. And you don't mind not letting them know unless they give you a reason to have to show your hand and really put your foot down and let them know you the CEO of all this shit. People try to make you feel bad for understanding you're chosen, but they don't realize being chosen is knowing you have this power, knowing you have this spiritual rank, yet having to have grace with this shit and humility and not being able to pop your shit the way you want to sometimes, cause God gonna spank you because you can't exist in your ego like they do. And this is why you play undercover boss, bro. Cause you understand, sometimes people gotta dig their own grave and you be the one to put that last scoop of dirt on it. Cause now you gonna make people think of who they talking to every single time. Cause they thought it was cool to play with you like you didn't have rank. And you didn't even tell them. You let them keep going until they gave you no other choice but to tell them you the boss of all this.
Sometimes it does come to a point where you have to speak, and you don't always have to tell everybody or make it known who you are. Your presence will be felt when you are who you are. But I've been in situations like this when somebody tries to play you. You know, you don't want to play your position. You don't want to play yourself out of your situation based off of, emotions. There's a responsibility with your power, and you can't let somebody just take you out of your zone and take you off of your energy. There's people out there that sense your growth and they want to take you down. It's just the name of the game. It's eventually all will be revealed, Everything will come to the light, who is and who's not.
I'm moving, so pardon the background. But have you ever noticed how kids today will wear hoodies and sweatpants in 90-degree weather? Like full hoodie, hood up, sweating, and they're just walking around like it's the middle of December. And yo, you look at them like, yo, are you like a vampire or something? Like, oh, you don't feel his sun? You don't feel his heat? But at first glance, it doesn't make any sense. But the thing is, there's actually layers to this. Like, there's a science to it. First and foremost is fashion, right? So the hoodie, that's the uniform of this generation. That's what they rocking. And it's not about what feels good in the heat. It's about what feels good to them socially. Looking like you belong is more important than logical thinking, right? We were all young. We all did things that were crazy that may have been trendy. But think about it, really. When life feels chaotic, when you don't know who's watching you, pulling up that hood is like closing the blinds away from everybody. It gives you security. And a lot of young people need that security more than they need air conditioning or to feel the breeze of sun on them. Skin, what it does, it naturally radiates frequency. It radiates energy. So when you cover more of your body, you mute that outward vibration from coming in. It's like wrapping a speaker inside a blanket. The music is still playing, but the outside world can't hear it as loud. In the generation that lives more online than outside, it makes perfect sense. See, a lot of our kids, they're retreating, they're pulling back their energy, and they're creating a bubble around themselves. The hoodie and sweats are like signals that say, I'm here, but don't get too deep. Stay out the way. Back up from me. Give me some space. So, no, you're not crazy for noticing it, because I did. And I just thought about it. Like, hoodies in the summer, they're not just style. They're psychology, they're culture, and in a way, they're spiritually shielding from a world where protection is necessary by any means. And if you don't know spiritual techniques for protection, then you're going to do what comes naturally, right? What your DNA is telling you to do. And then it'll just spread just like any trend, any slang, or anything like that. My name is Rob Blackstorm. Peace, power, and prosperity to you. Follow me for more wisdom and insight.
I think there's some scientific validity to that because There's studies, and there's proof that there's people that can change their body temperature, and that just happens regularly, just in your household. You ever wonder how two people can live in the same household and they have two different temperatures happening? You know, what's up with that? If we're living in the same temperature, why are we experiencing different temperatures? It's because we have our own internal temperature. Everybody has their own internal emotions and feelings, which makes them believe. And what you believe is what you feel, you know? And it has to be true. But also, I was a hoodie kid. So actually, Conspiracy Witted is a hoodie kid. You can see that I have the hoodie on Conspiracy Witted on my channel. So
All right, y'all, this is day one of me having my new toy, right? And I'm gonna try my best not to overreact, okay? I am the spellcaster. I am the caster of the spell. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Spells! I know your future. I'll tell you your fortune. The ball. The ball. The ball will tell. Now it's time for me to cast my magical spell. No.
I knew jobs wasn't for me when I tried to call off and they said, oh no, you can't do that. Bitch, who can't do that? Who the fuck is you talking to? Nah, I can't stand when somebody try to tell me what to do. Nah, that's when I just knew I couldn't be up in there. I like not having a job, bro. I can do whatever I want when I want to do it. And it feels so freeing. And that's the only reason I wanted an overload of money, because I wanted freedom. Well, I can get the freedom now. If I quit, that's why I walked out that motherfucker. That was years ago. I ain't looked back. Not to mention, I'm super creative. If I'm working for 8 hours, I have no time for my own creativity. Like when I got my first actual job in high school, I used to think like, bruh, y'all want me to be in the job for 8 hours. Y'all want me to go to school for 8 hours. And then y'all tell me I got 8 hours of sleep. Something ain't adding up, bitch. That's all my hours. When the fuck I'm gonna have time for me?
it never sat quite right with me how society works, how you can seemingly print money for anything that the government needs, but when it comes to its people, that it's so micromanaged and allocated the way that an entity that we can't see, we can't talk to, um, they make they put it in the hands of who they want it to, and as if they're playing God instead of making it equal. You know, they have, if they can print money out of thin air, then they can spread that out where everybody has a base minimum wealth, and that way you can be creative with that if you want to grow it even further. It just makes no sense to make everybody struggle from the bottom when that's just not the case anymore. But, you know, what do I know? That ends another episode. I appreciate your valuable time. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to spend it with I. And I would like to thank you, sincerely. Sharp Witted. Get with it or get lost.